what happens when the PBM starts to manage your pharmacy benefit program? You get things like exclusionary formularies. What's an exclusionary formulary? Okay, it used to be that a formulary was a list of drugs and you had preferred and non-preferred. And based on your plan design, you had copay differentials, maybe $20 for preferred, $50 for non-preferred brands. Now those non-preferred brands aren't non-preferred, they just aren't covered. That's what an exclusionary formulary is. And it's really hard to explain to members, to your employees, why Lilly's insulin is okay, but Novo's insulin is not. I mean, insulin is insulin. I could understand not covering the entire category, although that would be crazy, but when you're not covering one manufacturer over another manufacturer, that's an issue. Step therapy programs that prefer expensive brand drugs. This is a cut and paste directly from an Optum program. I literally copied and pasted it over here. And if there's any Optum attorneys in the audience, please don't sue me for this. But this is publicly available on their website, so I thought it was okay. So you have to try Crestor or Vytorin. Crestor is the most expensive drug in this category. So this is the statin category, again, cholesterol medication. So you have to try Crestor and a generic before they'll allow you to take a less costly brand drug. So this is their idea of step therapy. And so this is what you get when you sign up for a traditional benefit program or traditional pharmacy program. And you get other things, mandatory specialty, mandatory mail. So what you should do? Well, obviously some of you should perhaps maybe even look at your pharmacy benefits contract. Take a really complete inventory of what's going on in your prescription drug program. The financial issues. When was the last time you reviewed your PBM contract? When was the last time you took your PBM out to bid? Can you take your PBM out to bid, or is it carved in? Is your medical carrier holding your prescription drug program hostage? Is it so carved in and they make it so onerous that you can't carve it out? I think a lot of these, HSA front-end deductible programs make it more onerous for you to carve out your pharmacy benefit program. I think front-end deductibles are a good idea, but I'm just saying that now is a mechanism that keeps you wedded, your medical plan wedded to your pharmacy plan. Look at some of your plan design issues. Look at your current plan. Are your copays set logically to encourage lower cost drugs? Is the utilization management program encouraging the right behavior? So again, look at your copays. A lot of these copays that I see from plans are kind of out of date. And have you realized that, prescription drugs have increased in cost dramatically over the last couple of years, and maybe your copays aren't keeping pace. Most employers say that they want an 80-20 rule. In other words, they pay 80% of the cost, and members through their copay pay about 20%. So if that's out of whack, maybe you need to look at it from that perspective and maybe adjust your copays. I know, since 2009, Detroit hasn't been, has had issues with workforce and layoffs, and I know that copays aren't a great thing to talk about, but I think now that things are getting a little bit better, maybe it's time to look at that. And administration issues. Are you communicating with the right members? And what I mean by that is, again, speaking of the 80-20 rule, basically 20% of your members drive 80% of the cost. And really the top 1% is really where you need to manage. If you manage the top 1% of the utilizers of the pharmacy benefit program, your day would be over. That's really all you need to do. So when you send out mass communication, are you really communicating to the right members? That's what I mean. So maybe developing a communication strategy around the top 1% of utilizing members. So I think this slide just kind of says it all. This is from the PBMI Prescription Drug Benefit Cost and Plan Design Report, which I quote a lot in this presentation. But basically, prescription drugs, we're just kind of rising along with inflation here, 4 to 5% over the last, from 2007 to 2012 and 2013. And what happened in 2013? Specialty drugs. And what specifically happened? Harvoni and Sovaldi. You can't do a presentation in prescription drugs unless you say the word Harvoni, so I'm going to at least get it over with now. Harvoni happened in 2013. It was the first $100,000 prescription drug therapy on the market. It's for Hep C. Basically, you take it for 84 days, and it costs the plan $100,000. So if you haven't been hit with a Harvoni claim, you are darn lucky, but most of you have, I bet, been hit with a Hep C claim. And because of that, costs are going through the roof, and the AWPs, where the cost basis of this industry is, have gone through the roof. So, request for proposal now. If you haven't looked back at your pharmacy benefit plan and looked at the financial guarantees, you need to maybe go out to bid and find, see if you are market competitive with your current arrangement. And what should you expect from an RFP? And request for proposal, that means you go out to bid to find a new PBM, just for those who may not know what that means. You're gonna find savings. We see approximately a 10% cost savings, and hopefully that will help you balance against the 11% trend that we're gonna see this year in the industry. And the competition is really kind of fierce. The three big PBMs are fighting for market share, but they still kind of want it their way. If you're kind of tired of that song, the middle tier PBMs are going to be flexible, and they command really a decent amount of savings, this 10% savings that I'm talking about. When should you conduct your RFP? Well, an RFP should be done, in concert with the current term. Some PBM contracts are 3 years. Others of those that are carved into the medical plan may just be a 1-year renewal. So if you haven't looked at this prescription drug program specifically, you should. And I really want to emphasize the last bullet point on this slide. You can't keep your PBM forever. I mean, I've had a lot of clients that said, I've had this PBM for 25 years. But I point out to them, they haven't had you for 25 years, meaning that the PBM industry has gone through so many consolidations and mergers. I mean, SXC, Catamaran, merged with Catalyst, that merged, and became the Catamaran, and then Optum bought them. So the loyalty from the PBM isn't as strong as the client's loyalty to the PBM. So again, just kind of realize that this is not a vendor that you can keep forever, because there's going to be consolidation. And I can tell you, if you're an old SXC client, you're not going to remember even what it looks like by the time it got to Optum, and with all the mergers going through the industry. This is from a work product of our own. You can just see very quickly here that from 1 year to the next, just by going out to bid, we got our client considerably better discounts off average wholesale price for retail brand, retail generic, and look at rebates for specialty drugs. They went from, in 1 year, $19 per brand claim to $450 per brand claim. And why is that happening? That's happening because specialty drugs, the cost of them are going up incredibly. So when is the time to go out to bid? Well, now, I would say. And certainly as the AWP increases, we've seen these discounts increased, as I showed you on the last slide. There are many, many new rebate specialty drugs, and with that the rebates have increased dramatically. We see a 30% rebate on these Harvoni, Sovaldi, $100,000. That's $30,000 in rebates. So if you have had a Harvoni or Sovaldi claim, a Hep C claim for these really expensive, go back to your PBM and ask them, where is my $30,000 rebate that you're getting on my behalf? So ask them, and again, even rebates at 30% on a $1,000 drug is a $300 rebate. So that's why we're getting these huge increases in rebates, particularly on specialty drugs. And merger mania isn't over. I predict Express Scripts is going to be the next PBM that's going to have some kind of merger announcement. I mean, they're the only one, like CVS and Caremark. Caremark has CVS as an anchor. They have a pharmacy chain. And then you look at Optum, they have the insurance company United Healthcare arrangement. So they also kind of have a chain or an anchor, so to speak. Express Scripts is still the only kind of PBM out there that doesn't have some other kind of vertical integration. So what are they going to be doing in the future? And so I predict that if you have ESI, and I would guess a lot of you do with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, you might see your PBM become swallowed up by something or someone. So there are more demands by these three large PBMs, and to report to Wall Street that they have made profits, and some of the mid-sized PBMs may be the way to go. Okay, again, when I was a benefit manager 25 years ago, back in the Stone Age, really the only thing I had to worry about were copays. But now it's really become a lot more complex in the pharmacy benefit arena, and I'll quickly go through each one of these. So distribution channels, what we mean by that is that you set a policy around retail, mail, and specialty. A lot of programs I've seen mail order declining, because obviously some of that utilization is moving over into the specialty vendor side, but I also see retail 90-day programs becoming more popular. So with retail 30 days and retail 90 days and a specialty vendor, do you really need a mail order provider? Probably not, but your PBM likes it because they spent a couple of $1 million building a 50,000 square foot facility, and they want to keep using it. So just remember that when they come to you and tell you that mail order saves money. But you can see from the PBMI report that many are moving away from mail order. Deductibles, about a third of employers now have some kind of front-end deductible. Certainly the Affordable Care Act is, if you go through there and look at what's available, most programs have deductibles. Remember, that's nothing but really a cost shifting mechanism for employees. And again, I would caution you, with your own workforce, you know it better than I do, that maybe a front-end deductible is not all that popular. But 3 tiers are still popular. I know this is kind of an eye chart. I apologize. Hopefully you have a copy in front of you. But 3-tier programs are still very popular, but 4-tier programs are gaining. In the Affordable Care Act and in Medicare Part D, we see where there's 6 or more tiers. So if grandma can figure out a 6-tier program and how to buy her prescription drugs, so can your average 25-year-old who's much better at tweeting than I am. So I think they can figure that out. But just to let you know, that's where most copays are.